Good boy. Okay, so give you guys a little idea of where my head's at for today and how we're going to roll through, or my plan anyhow, is just going to test him to see where he is as far as where he was yesterday, see what stuck and maybe what needs some revisiting. I'm so excited to ride him. I was talking about that in my last session, so we'll see if we get there this morning, but I don't see why not. He's been such a good boy unless we find something in there that needs some addressing. First thing I really want to make sure of, and it's something I talk a lot about at home, especially with young horses, I guess with all of them, is just making sure there's nothing in there on them horses that's going to create discomfort from the saddle. The saddle's already enough of a new thing for a horse and a little bit different for him. You don't want him to have a negative opinion of him because we missed a spot brushing, or there's some dried sweat under there, or dirt or anything. These horses are staying in a stall, so I doubt they're that dirty, and he didn't really sweat too much yesterday, but good to double check. I'll just, there you go. I'll take my saddle out to the center in a sec. I'll pat him first. Now yesterday, for those of you who weren't here, when I brought my flag out, it really set him off. It was probably his biggest hot spot I found in him. And then when I went to the flag, he kind of related it a bit, or went to the pad, sorry, he kind of related the pad a little bit to the flag. So I'm going to test him here with the saddle pad. He looks like he's pretty good. I just want to make sure I don't skip anything here with the saddling. It is a piece of our puzzle when we get to the finals, is that they have to stand still to be saddled. And I love that it is, but it's because something we focus on a lot at home. We don't always get it done. I've had horses that won't stand still to be saddled in the finals. But at home, if I'm going to send a horse back to a customer, I really want to make sure they stand still to be saddled. It's a frustrating thing to deal with. If you set your horse out and he comes home and he's hard to saddle, it's not good. Thank you, sir. Now if I see there, I threw my pad on and then I set it down before I went to get my saddle. I see people sometimes, they'll throw that pad on and then they'll go lead the horse around with the pad on their back. I always encourage people not to do that, because if they jump from the pad or jump from something and that pad falls off, it'll kind of hit the ground and it'll maybe cause something that wasn't there before. And it also gives them the idea that if they jump, what it does is knocks whatever's on their back off. And I really don't want them thinking that to get something off their back, they start jumping around. So I try to make sure when I'm walking him around, he's buttoned up. Hey, buddy. Now, just because he was great to saddle yesterday doesn't mean I'm not keeping in my head right now that this colt's been saddled one time in his whole life. So really preparing myself if something does go bad, that I'm ready. Good boy. I got myself a new back cinch. For you guys who were here yesterday, my back cinch was about 6 inches too long, so I went and stole one out of Rhett's trailer. There you go, little gaffer. I had some people asking me about my cinch yesterday, and it's a back on track cinch. And if you guys haven't seen them before, I'd encourage you guys to go have a look at them. They're a pretty neat cinch for young horses. I had people asking me if it's neoprene. It's not. Not a big fan of neoprene. They're easy to clean, but sometimes they do get a little pinchy around the belly. But yeah, if you're curious about the back on track cinches, I think K&K has some if you want to go have a look. They're pretty nice little cinch for colts and for my rope horses as well. So now again, when I go to saddle them up, I'm going to make sure that I got a good snug hold on him here when I'm ready to pull that cinch into him. I don't want to leave him loose like that in case he blows up. I put him and I both in a bad situation to where I can't help him through a bad feeling about the cinch. I want to make sure that I'm ready to help him through that as I cinch him up. Now he was a little bit humpy yesterday. Not bad. I mean, definitely wouldn't label him as a horse that's going to buck. But he does have a little bit of discomfort from the cinch, so I'm going to make sure I pay attention to that here this morning. And as I move along here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be checking how he handles the pull from the halter. I ride all my colts in the halter, and I want to make sure that when I'm pulling on him on the ground, I'm doing my very best to give him the opportunity to get used to that pull, and I'm going to make it the same as when I ride him. So it's kind of the same as ground driving, just I'm not going to do it with a bridle. I'm going to make sure that I introduce him to every type of pull that I'm going to give him when I ride him. I want to introduce him to all that on the halter. I'll show you guys that here once I get him buttoned up, but I had some people asking yesterday why I hadn't grabbed the bridle or anything like that. I always start my colts in the halter. Good boy. And a big part when you first saddle a young horse is making sure that his first few steps are always away from me. I never want him to think if he's going to panic or anything that this direction is okay. If you want to panic, I'm not going to get after him for being upset about the saddle, or if a horse wants to buck around a little bit. That's not a big deal as long as they are in control and as long as they respect my space. So if you're having a little bit of a problem, I'll help you through it all I can, but I will not allow that step towards me. You always have to be moving away from me. And all you're telling them there is just kind of respect that personal boundary a little bit. And then it also tells them that even though you're upset about the saddle or you might have a little buck in there, still keep your head. You're not allowed to just lose your mind and not pay attention to what's going on. Good little boy. Thank you. That was a great saddle there for a second time. Definitely give him some credit there. Right away he starts to lick and chew right there and soften as soon as I send him out. So if I'm looking for signs as far as a checklist to get on a horse, that's one I really look for, is if I can get him to soften with the saddle on. It sure makes me feel better about the rest of my day. Good boy. Moving out nice and free. Go ahead and change direction, send him out to the right. Now when I'm asking for that speed here on the ground, I'm really seeing how he handles it, because when I step on him here today, you guys are going to see that the same reaction for speed on the ground is the same reaction I'm going to get speed on the back. So if I can't move him out smooth and free when I'm here on the ground, odds are I'm going to have them same troubles when I step in the middle of them. So I really want to make sure that him and I are on the same page here, and then I'll just follow up when I step on him. Make sure he's following the direction of that pull. Yesterday I talked about two things that I focus on with a colt. Kind of rolls into everything, is I always want a colt to be able to follow a feel. And what I mean by follow a feel is just the direction of the pull. So here the direction my pull is going to go that direction. I want him to follow it, and as soon as he does, he's going to get a release. So that's the first thing I want to focus on, is that follow a feel. The second thing is how he's going to handle pressure. Pressure can be anything from my legs, or asking him to move out, tapping him there with the rope, or my legs, or anything that scares him. How he handles that pressure is very, very important. So when I'm on the ground, I want to make sure I can send him out, I can move his feet, he's not grumpy or scared. And when I'm on the ground, I want to make sure that he follows the direction of the pull without a whole lot of resistance. There he's kind of stuck. Wait, there he frees up, and I'm just going to let go. And two things that people talk about quite a bit in the horse training world, and it really doesn't matter what discipline you're in, is timing and feel. And feel, I truly believe, takes a lifetime to say master. It's something I think every trainer I talk to talks about, how we're always perfecting our feel. We're always trying to make sure we're giving a horse the best chance they can have. But timing is something I tell people that it's almost the easiest thing to learn as long as we keep ourselves straight. And where I figured that out is doing 4-H clinics. Is kids are so literal that if I tell a kid every time his horse's head goes this direction, you let go, a kid don't think about anything else. He picks up, the horse's head goes, he lets go. He's so clear, or the kid's so clear about what he wants, so as soon as he sees it, he lets the reins go. And that's a great definition of timing, is that if before you pick up on the rein or before you ask a horse to do something, you know exactly what you want, your timing will always be spot on. There he's getting, when I'm pulling on him here, you guys can see that he was wanting to get a little bit straight with his head this way, and I'm really looking for that lateral bend when I'm sending him around. So the direction of my pull is kind of back towards me as I'm asking for that body to move away. And if I find him to be super, super straight this way, I'm not going to start trying to force him over there. I'm just going to keep pushing him till he heads the direction of the pull. There, he's a little straighter than I want him. Going to send him till that head there. You see him really, really straight. Just send him around, there. And then again, get into that timing. That's all I wanted, was that head to come to me, release when it does. Attaboy. Still wanting to get really, really straight. I don't want to see that happening. Waiting for that head there. Good boy. Thank you. You hear a lot of trainers use the word soft. I was kind of getting into some talks yesterday with people in our booth about terminology that we use. When you talk about soft, my definition of soft is more or less the same definition of willing. Is I ask a horse to go a direction, and that horse goes that direction because he's willing. He's not soft because I've been pulling on him. He's not soft because I've been bumping on him. That's not why he's soft. He's soft because he's willing to go the direction that I'm asking him to go. And that might be a good kind of definition or an understanding of the word soft when I'm looking for it in a young horse or even in a finished horse, is that it's not just that they go that direction because I have the correct bit or the correct aid in their face. It's that they're going that direction because they're willing to do what I'm asking them to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flag him real fast. I was talking yesterday about how flag was a bit of a hot spot for this horse. And I want to make sure that yesterday he was really good about it, but I want to keep covering it every day so I can check that off my list. Now, if he's perfect today, I probably don't need to check it this afternoon. And for those of you guys that were here yesterday at 9:45, that's a huge difference. He even once thought about kicking at it. So now that I see him here just taking that flag, it makes me feel really good about being able to say, I'll just check that off my list. Now you can see he's very clear with the look on his face about how he feels about it. I think he don't appreciate it, but at the same time he's staying there for me and he's not reacting negatively, so good boy. You don't have to like it, you just can't try to kick it. There you go. You're okay, bud. Perfect, all right. Checking things off. Okay, fellas, I'll go ahead and grab that lunge whip from you. Make sure I got my saddle snug here. I'll probably do that up one more if I got another hole. This colt's little in the belly. There we go. There's always comes kind of difference of opinions when we first start horses. So one I've seen before and I get questions about, I'll keep the halter, thanks buddy, is back cinch. Sometimes a back cinch on a horse can cause some kind of buck or a little bit of hump up and stuff. So people sometimes want to cut that step out as if to say, if I don't use the back cinch, then I get to go to where my horse won't buck. The problem is it's something that the more you leave it out, one day you're going to find it and you're going to wish you would have just got it done in the first place. So I think if we're going to say we got to get a horse used to the saddle, the pieces of the saddle all go at once. And then later on, if you send me a horse and I use a back cinch and a breast collar and you want to ride English, you're not going to have any trouble at all. Or you don't want to ride with a back cinch, you're not going to have any trouble. But if I leave that back cinch out because I'm worried about buck, later on down the road, someone's going to get that horse and put a back cinch on and they're going to have a real bad day. And I think it's just a step that I don't want to skip. Want to really see him free up here. Atta boy.
Oh, that's nice.
Good boy.
Kind of scares me when I see somebody ride with a back cinch hanging down about 2 or 3 inches from the horse's belly, especially if you're going through the bush.
It's a fear, and you'll never see somebody not tighten their back cinch unless they're scared of a horse bucking. It's always the relationship to it, right? We feel if that's tight, they're going to buck, but if you think of it from a horse's perspective, if everything on that saddle is tight, and when you're riding them around, that saddle's not moving, sliding, or rocking and rolling, that horse is way more comfortable. A good analogy of that would be if you go hiking with a heavy pack, the more that pack is strapped to your body and not moving around, the more comfortable and easy it is for you to carry that weight. I think of it the same with a saddle. If my saddle's moving around a bunch, it's causing a lot of discomfort. Don't like him changing eyes on me. Now, this colt doesn't have a whole lot of stop moving his feet, and you can see I end up in here where I stop and he's kind of traveling around still. That's not a big deal for me. Like the freedom in his steps is a good thing. So if you see a colt, sometimes when we're starting young horses, we have this feeling, hey buddy. Thank you. We have a feeling that, as soon as we get on this horse, we're scared of him moving too much forward because we don't want a horse to run off on us or do something wrong. But I kind of look at it the other way, is that if he's comfortable enough to kind of keep his feet moving, when I step on him, I don't have to kind of pedal him like a Flintstone car. I can just teach him which direction I want him to go and show him how to follow a feel and handle that pressure. If you're dealing with forward all the time, it seems like we're putting too much pressure on him at an early stage. So the more forward you can get, it's actually less pressure on a young horse and they respond better to it. And if you've started any amount of colts, we've all ran into that one that won't move forward, and it's frustrating. Atta boy. Atta boy. Good man. I talked yesterday about my definition of sticky, and it is kind of back into that terminology that we all kind of use. Sometimes people maybe don't understand what a trainer means when he says sticky. Sticky is just when you add forward to that horse. He goes forward, but he never kind of releases that energy. There you can see when I finally got that horse into the lope, he continued on loping around that round pen without me having to keep clucking to him and keep slinging my whip. That would be my definition of freeing up, and the opposite of that would be my definition of sticky. Good boy. One sec. I'm just going to test the right and the back up here real quick, and then I'll go ahead and get ready to step on. There you go. There you go. Now I'm really getting that lateral movement. Good man. Just go ahead and check him here to the left as well, and then we can back him up. Right there, that stick. It's one thing I'm going to finish here is making sure that he don't get this way and then get balled up. Any horse that's really, really straight, it's super hard to talk to them if they kind of won't let that body go or let that face go or keep that tension in the neck. And that's maybe a good takeaway, is that any tension in a horse when you ask him to do something is going to hinder not only our success of kind of reaching our goal, but it's also going to hinder their movement. You know, if a horse is carrying a lot of tension in the neck or in the rib cage or anywhere in them, when you ask them to do something, they're always going to do it a little bit kind of clunky or not as well as they could if they would let that tension out. So regardless of how we do it or our style of riding, any horse you have, the more tension you can take out, the better. It's a good way to look at it.
An interesting video, I think I might have seen it on your Facebook page, Kate, of a horse that had a few rides, obviously, and you were swinging a rope on it. Throwing the rope out in front of him, and boy, things really took off in that.
You know, that colt was a funny deal. He was a very well-bred colt. His dad had won the cow horse, the World Show in the Appy, and he just always had a lot of buck. And it wasn't buck from fear, it was buck from anger. He'd get mad. And when I filmed that video, I had a lot of people say, like, you do a lot of groundwork. I can't believe you hadn't done more groundwork. If you go back on my Facebook from before that video, my mom roped the Helimatic on that horse the night before. They had just got home from Arizona, and my mom really liked him. And then I was just doing a sale video, so I was throwing the rope and then had big old loose rein, wouldn't even hold my reins, and I threw the rope out and started coiling it up. And when that Hondu got to his right front foot, he whirled, but when he whirled, he went that way, so the rope was around his neck. And I mean, he bucked hard enough to crack my head back and throw my hat straight in the air and like took off bucking across the pen. And I was lucky he run into that fence, because everyone said good stick, but anybody who's ever had to stick a bad one knows that I was on the way out. I wasn't on the way in. So he wouldn't have run into that fence and stopped bucking.
That was one heck of a bronc ride you were.
I had a good one there. And funny thing is that day the customer, he was doing the sale video, and we get done and he says, what am I going to do with this horse? I said, you'll sell him, not even that big of a deal. I'll fix that tomorrow. Like, he's a good boy. And he's like, do you want him? I said, well, I can't afford a horse. He said, $500. I said, well, I can afford that horse. So I bought him. All right, we're ready to get on. I've started wearing my brain bucket here the last little while. Thank you. And it started with, some people talking about how that first ride is so dangerous, and then, as a cowboy, it's really hard for me to say that I'm going to go ahead and put a helmet on it. It was tough to overcome, and what it did is my daughter come to me, and I told her to put her helmet on and go ride, and she said, "Dad, why don't you wear your helmet?" I said, "Well, when you're right, you're right." So for my first rides these days, I've been really making sure I keep myself as safe as I can.
Maybe sometimes it's a good idea for the horse to get just used to seeing you with the helmet on.
There you go, you bet.
Maybe a little different person than
You bet.
a couple of seconds ago.
I had a lady last year when I wore the helmet, she was surprised that I could swing a rope because I was the guy wearing the helmet. But I'll tell you, guys that wear helmets can rope too.
Now, a few years ago, I think, I won't mention the guy's name, but he just wore his hat and his jeans and boots until he went to get on. Then he changed to a flak jacket and a shiny black helmet and went right at the horse.
Easy,
And the
bud.
horse thought he was a totally different person. He wouldn't let him get close.
Yeah, and the flak jacket probably isn't the worst idea. I mean, once you're going down that safety road, there's really no stop. Now, all this horse is doing is getting nervous of that belly pressure. You can see there when I go to step in, sometimes what people do is they see that out of a horse, and right away they start thinking, oh my gosh, that's something really bad's happening. Really try to find the positive, and I talked yesterday about reading the colts. What I read out of this colt when I go to step in the stirrup is, you see how it makes him nervous? But where does he go? Nowhere. Like, he's staying with me. He's not saying, oh my gosh, like I got to get away from this guy, I don't want to be with him. He's staying soft on the halter, and he's giving me a chance to talk to him. So if that fear's there, but the trust goes with it, then we're going to be all right. If I went to put that foot in the stirrup and he blew backwards, bucking, or went to turn away, it would show me that I'm not ready to ride. Kind of getting back to that checklist is that when I see him get in a bad situation like that to where he's like, oh, what's happening? And then he stays with me, it shows me, okay, we're ready. As long as I can talk him through it, there's no problem we can't overcome. All right, little fella, let's try you again. And you got to think, it's a pretty foreign feel, right? Getting my dance moves figured out here. Now, I'm staying with him just till I feel him kind of lose his mind a bit. So if I can stay there until he loses it, I want to make sure that I don't get him all the way lost with it, right? So you see how he's kind of staying with me, and then I feel like he's almost telling me, like, I'm sorry, Kate, I can't stay any longer for you. Then I'm like, okay, well, I'll jump down and move your hips. Good boy. Good man. Good boy. Now, when you see me walk away like that, all I'm trying to do is take all the pressure out of him I can. I just want him to feel like, okay, Kate, I tried really hard for you, and then, that must be the right thing, because he took all the pressure away. And that just gives him the confidence to try again. The more I can keep him trying, before you know it, we'll be loping circles. Hey, fella. Good boy. Hey, you're all right, Junior. Good boy. You're okay. It ain't so bad, is it? And he's been a little watchy on his sides. Thank you. So, no surprises. I kind of anticipated that was going to be a little bit of a deal. So yesterday I was talking at the end of my session that I really, really wanted to get on him, but I only had maybe 13 minutes left, and if I run into this, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to fix it. So, no surprises, he's a little watchy on them sides, and again, I'm not a psychic or even really that smart, but I bet you he's going to be the same on the right. Maybe even worse. But we'll get him through it. Oh. Somebody else been riding my saddle before I come up here. No wonder I was having to reach so high to get up my foot up there. I was thinking, he ain't this tall.
You know,
boy.
once you step on,
Yeah.
your knees are up to the slats.
Must have had somebody else using my rig. You'd think a guy would check it. Now here, sometimes what we want to do is pull him real hard. You see how I'm not pulling him unless I have to? And I'm really prepared to pull because I don't want him to take that hip away and kick me. But if I don't have to pull, I don't want to freak him out.
20 minutes left. Maybe just so you know, 20 minutes left.
It's been the first time I've been happy to have you tell me what time it is. That's more than I thought. I was thinking 10. I thought I was getting the hang of figuring out the time, but that's good. Him meeting me at the gate saved me about 10 minutes. There. Hey, Hoss. Ain't as bad as you thought it was. Just go ahead and clear him here a little bit and let him kind of realize that it ain't so bad. When I just kind of started working for my dad, I was homeschooling there when I was about 15, and I thought I could ride anything. There wasn't a horse that could buck me off, and if he did buck me off, I was excited for the challenge. I couldn't wait. I soon met a ranch horse from Harper Ranch that let me realize that there was a lot of horses out there that I couldn't stick, because when this horse bucked me off, I woke up on the ground spitting out dirt, and I don't even know what happened. My mom said he kind of jumped forward, and I got my foot back into his flanks. And then after that, she wasn't really sure what was happening because she was just screaming, whoa, whoa, yeah, stop. And after that, I started to realize not only can I not stick anything I want, there was a lot of things I was skipping when I was riding them horses. This horse was a big, strong ranch horse that had 30 days and then sat for 3 years. And I brought him in and just pulled the cinches into him and bailed on and said, let me see what you got. And unfortunately, he showed me what he had, and not just a little bit of what he had, he showed me everything he had. And I swear for 2 years after that, every time a horse bucked, I'd freak out. Don't do me again like that. But now it's taught me, it was a good learning lesson because I've really started to make sure I don't skip steps. That was kind of my big epiphany. I wish I didn't have to learn the hard way, but if that's the case, then I had to. Good man. And that kind of where I was going with that story is that to skip this right side when he's that nervous on it, when I swing that leg over him and that right leg comes sliding down here and hits that stirrup and hits him in the belly, and I haven't finished this right side, odds are I'm going to find a side of him that I didn't want to find, and maybe I could have worked out of him if I would have took my time here. And I watched my brother get it one day from not doing it. Dad asked him if he got on the left and the right. He said yes. I knew he didn't. He swung his leg down and he didn't even reach the stirrup, and he was flat on his back at the end of the arena. So I was like, oh, I better do the right too. All right. Get close to him there, kind of hug him with it a little bit. Easy, fella. Well, that was a good sign. He left, I pulled, he stayed. You can't ask for anything better than that, Junior. Thank you, sir. Hi, Rena. When you're working with colts, just talking about how he left and I pulled and he stayed, you can't ask a colt not to get scared or get nervous or have a bad day. But I mean, if all you're going to ask is that when something goes wrong, you pull on them and they stay with you, you can usually get through just about anything. Easy, Junior. Had a bit of a moment there, did you? Good boy. It's funny with a colt like him, he's going to be a lot more comfortable when I'm on him than he is with me on the side of him. Now I hope I didn't say that too soon, but it's my theory. Good boy. Just get them feet freed up. Good boy.
Yeah, just clap with one.
Go ahead, clap. He's more scared of you than you are of him. Isn't that what they say? I never believed it, but people ask you, how are you not scared when you get on for a first ride? I'm not always that scared, but I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to get hurt. It's not riding that scares you, it's coming off of them. My thing that keeps me doing it is that I was blessed with a coach that happened to be my dad. Maybe I didn't always agree with him, but he always made sure that I had the tools that if I did get bucked off, I knew why, and I knew how to make sure it didn't happen again. And it seems like the older I get and the more I do it, the better I am about being able to find that stuff before it happens and help a horse build that confidence before it gets out of control, you know.
Now, had you decided to try and get on them in the first or second session, things might not have gone as well as they're going now.
No, and I think I could have if it was 10 years ago and I wasn't seeing the signs, and I don't think he would have bucked, or he's not out here to hurt nobody or get in a mess or anything like that. That's not his style. The problem is what would have happened tomorrow or the next day or even just, I always tell everybody I'm not a gambling man, but if I feel like I'm flipping a coin, that's not good enough odds for me to get on a horse. I play in the 75 and up percentages, but if I'm playing 50-50, I got more things I can do on the ground. I don't play the 50-50 as much anymore. I used to think 50-50 was pretty good odds, but changed my mind.
15 minutes now. 15 minutes.
Sweet. No, I said it was only going to take 5 minutes to get on them, so maybe I'm getting better.
Might not take you near as long to get off.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've come off pretty fast. 8 seconds don't seem like a lot of time until you got to get in the middle of one. There. And then making sure that here, when I'm playing with him, you see how I just go back to softening that face? And now what I'm trying to teach him is that I'm using my left leg to push his hip around to the right as I'm bending him around. So, and I'm really trying to use my legs in a way, see me bumping that left leg, for those of you who can, until he moves off of that left leg. And it's the same way that I tapped on him with my halter. It's the same build of pressure, the same release, the same expectation. So I'm really just trying to transfer that pattern from taps to leg so that when I get him off my leg, he's ready. Thank you. And people always, I get a lot of questions about legs at clinics, so just while I'm kind of letting him cool out here for a second, I'll tell you guys my theory on legs is that a lot of times when I would ride with trainers, and I'd say it myself, is I was always say inside leg and outside leg. It was always a thing, and I'm sure you guys have heard it before. It's something we all kind of talk about when we're coaching. And the hard thing is once you get out of the maneuver that somebody told you inside leg, outside leg, it's always hard to go on and say, well, what leg do I use next? So I'll give you my idea on it is that reins pull and legs push. And for 90% of what you're going to do, you'll never run into a problem. So what I mean by legs push, or a good analogy of that, is when I pull on this left rein, I want his hip to go around to the right. So it's inside leg or it's left leg that's going to push that hip to the right. Now if I want his shoulder to go to the left and I'm pulling on the left rein, I would change legs because it would be my right leg that would push his shoulders to the left. And if that's too much of a weird analogy, think of it in side pass. If you're going to side pass that way, you're never going to kick with this leg. It's the same almost in every other thing you're going to do. Be aware of which way the body is going to go. Use the leg to push the body. Easy thing to remember, and then after that, you're never kind of riding around like, what did that guy say at that clinic that one time? Was he inside leg or outside leg? Was it inside to the arena or inside to me or inside to the horse? Whose inside was it? Legs push, really easy. And there might be some fancy fandangled thing out there where you do use your left leg to move to the left, but 90% of the time, you'll be fine pushing them to the right with the left leg. Now here, you can see this colt changing eyes, and you see when he looks out of that right eye, he got a little tight there. And in that situation, it's really hard for us not to want to grab a hold of him and kind of force him around to the left and not let that right eye see me. I'm good with him seeing me out of both eyes for this first ride, because when he got tense, again, he stopped and I didn't have to pull on him. So if I can let him kind of fishtail around there like this and see me out of both eyes, and then I'll feel him kind of let out, lick and chew, have a big release, it gives me the confidence that, again, whatever I'm accomplishing today, I'm hoping is going to be there in the afternoon. If I hide him from that right side, see how he's wanting to look to the outside, if I'm pulling him and I'm keeping him bent over here, the only thing in his mind would be, I got to see what's on that right side, you know. Then it's going to make him to where he's not soft, not because he's not willing to be pulled on. It's because he's so worried about what's out there, he just can't think about anything else. So I'll let him kind of sunfish a little bit in that first ride and see me out of both eyes and stuff, and it just builds confidence. Good man. Now my freedom in the steps is paying off right here. I haven't asked him to move forward at all. He just kind of got me up here and decided he wanted to go for a cruise, so I just kind of left my hand down. I haven't used my legs, I haven't done nothing. He's just walking around and checking all you fine folks out and trying to find his new owner. These horses are auctioned off. I'm sure you guys heard it before, but we were talking about it last year in my sessions there. Usually when you buy a 2 or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old that don't have a whole lot of training on them, you don't get to see them at their best and their worst. What other place can you go and watch a guy start a horse, see him right from the ground up all the way to the finals, and then make your decision on whether or not you want to buy it? You know he wasn't tricked, or you didn't miss anything, or someone's not telling you anything. I mean, all the cards are on the table, so take advantage of that for sure if you're looking for a good prospect.
10 minutes now, okay?
Thank you, sir.
You can register as a bidder around the colts at the Wagon Heart booth, which is booth 3104, right behind us over here, and right after the finals. Tomorrow, that's when the auction takes place.
I wouldn't guess you're going to get a screaming deal on them, but they're good horses. There's going to be some other people thinking the same thing. Now you see here, I let him go and he went to the right. I'm just hanging, I don't care. Go ahead, Hugh, sorry. Now, I'm going to ask him to jog. Common thing, we've done a few colt starting clinics here this weekend. And what I see when people ask for, or not this weekend, sorry, this year. What I ask for people out of the colts is that when you ask for forward, it's not fair to ask for forward and then when they give it to you, you pull. So if I ask him to go forward, he don't know.
Hello everyone, Connie Chalice is doing a presentation in AEF lecture law, how to build healthy foods, and who protection is legal. AEF lecture hall starting at 11.
So if I'm asking for forward, and right away when he wants to jog, he jogs really, really fast. It's not fair for me to pull on him because I just asked him for forward. He don't know the difference between the gaits, or even maybe he breaks into a little sweetheart lope. I'm going to go with it. The only time I'm going to pull on this horse is if I feel like he's losing control of his mind and his senses and kind of his faculties there. I might help him. But if I ask for forward and he jogs out there and he's in a really controlled frame of mind, it's not fair for me to be like, oh, too fast and pull on him. Then what I'm doing is I'm taking all this beautiful forward out of this nice horse just because I don't trust him. And that's not fair. I've been begging him to trust me for about 2 hours now. If he's going to trust me, I got to give him the same respect. See here, he just cool as a cucumber. Just going to let him kind of iron it out. Good man. And I try to make sure that my starts and my releases with my legs are very, very defined. I even go as far as to move my legs away from his belly when he does what I want. There I didn't ask for a jog there, but again, I'm rewarding for forward. So if he feels the need to step out there and jog, he deserves it. I've had people working for me, they get really scared when they put their head down like that because head down's usually followed up with body up. But really try to feel in that situation, I always say, because when he put his head down there, I mean, he was sweet as can be about it. Buck wasn't even on his radar. Like, he was just kind of softening. So make sure you don't cut that effort short too. All right, fella.
I feel him hop up a little bit there, and he's not hopping on his butt.
But yeah, then he starts going to the bathroom, which makes us think, holy moly, he's going to buck. But again, not.
Well, that's a sign he's letting out some tension, too.
You betcha, yeah. More tension more comfortable he is out in this pen, the farther we're going to get along here. Now I'm really using them legs, and I've been tapping him on the bum. Attaboy. So I'll just go back to that same style. Leg, 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 little tap with my rein. And what that's showing them, if you don't want to get tapped with the rein, move off the leg. Good boy. Attaboy. Hey, man. And I'm big on loving on him out here at the jog on a loose rein as opposed to pulling on him to pet him. If I can let him kind of get some comfort or some praise out here for just being free and pretty, I'll darn sure give him as much of that as I feel comfortable. Leaning down isn't always the best thing again, but I trust this little guy more and more every minute. Good boy. Time to get a little more, fella. Now when I'm asking for lope, he don't know what lope is, so what I do is I just ask for speed. So if I start asking for leg, speed, there he jogs faster, I take my pressure off, and then I start again. There he jogs faster, take my pressure off, start again. Then I'm not just kicking him and kicking him and kicking him and kicking him. He's still finding pressure and release. Attaboy, give me the speed. Now he's getting a little tight, so I might have to use a bump to a tap. Attaboy. Easy little fella. Good boy. Thank you. Now I'm going to remind him to take that tension out by bringing him down, but again, I'm not mad at him. Fair's fair, right? All cards on the table, he was scared.
Just so you know, there's 5 minutes left, Cade.
Oh, come on. Now I'm not happy to hear that. I was happy early. All right, we got enough time to get another one. Let's go feel good about it. That's a boy. All right, here we go. A little faster. A little faster. Atta boy. Ooh, he just let out.
A little bit of sneaky feel.
Yeah, yes, sir. Now, the fear is why he's now not moving off my legs, right? He got to a point where he was scared. So now, talking about how that tension creates an unhandy horse. That's what's happening right now. He's got all that tension on his body from being scared. Now, I can't follow him into that tension as much as I want to. I got to just relax.
Oh,
Whoa.
make sure you stop when he stops.
See that stop? They always stop when they're tight. If you can just make sure you keep me kind of 4, 3, 2, 1, Hugh, if you don't mind. I want to see if I can talk him out of this. Atta boy. Now, it's important when he's all over the place that I'm not going all over the place with him. And one thing I tell people on a colt is that it's easy to get to where I'm trying to do 5, 6, 7 things up here at once. And I want to make sure that I don't do that to him. I'm just doing one thing. Move off my legs so you're not tense. And I just want him to get out there and soften so that him and I can have a solid conversation about that. If I start working on turn and all these other things, what I'm doing is I'm confusing him when he's already tight.
3 minutes, Cade.
Thanks, Hugh. There you see he's kind of back to that freedom. Now, I want to lope him again, but I don't want to start something I can't finish. It's kind of that, you get into that danger zone when Hugh starts saying 3 minutes, but right now I feel like whatever tension was in him when I loped him is all gone now, so it's a great place for me to start slowly bringing this horse down. There, he's super soft, super pretty, willing, everything I need out of him. And let's see how he responds when I let go. Good boy. You see them ears working? We're doing a little mental math. Soften him up again a little bit. Good boy. Take that tension out, fella. You don't need it. That's for the bad horses. You're a good one. There. Just making sure I'm changing that eye. I'm seeing a difference in my horse as I'm starting to move him around. Just reminding him that we're still cool. We're cool. There. Good man. Lots of chin on that one. Okay. This might be a little trickier than I think it is.
Yeah, he was a little, when you got on, and oh, he's fine.
I'm going to have to finish that with you after this afternoon, but good fella. Got a good lick and chew? Thank you. Let's get you unbuttoned. My friend Travis here, we did a trainer challenge in Ontario together, and he's loping a circle when they're calling 30 seconds. And all of us are yelling at him, get off your horse, you're going to get dinged 25 extra or take 25 points off. He's just talking and loping around. 30 seconds, Travis. 25 seconds, Travis. Never seen a guy unsaddle a horse in 3.7 seconds, but that was the first time for me. Then I asked him why after. He said, gosh, things were going so good, I just didn't want to stop. That's kind of how I was feeling. There you go.
1 minute to go.
We're going to make it. We're going to make it, Jax. All right. Good man. Well, we might have some squirrel this afternoon, but I feel pretty confident about where things are at. I can't wait for this afternoon. It's chomping at the bit all day to get another try with him, and I think him and I will move right along. I feel good about him. Good boy. Thank you.
All right, Cade Mills, and there's still 30 seconds to walk into the gate. And we will take another 15-minute break, and then the real Rod Olson will be here.
Took the stickers off for you.
Goof.
That was all him.
I bet it was. There you go.
Thank
Okay guys, we made it. It's our second day, first ride on our colt. I think it's our third session, and me and Jax made it. He did great. He had a few moments where he got tight and kind of wanted to run off a bit, but he handled it good. He's soft in the face, handling the saddle well, and can't wait for this afternoon. He's going to be a good one.